What is up, guys? Delboy here. So I'm sure I'm about to piss off a group of fanboys, but it is what it is. I am going to give you my perspective on this topic, and the topic is, what was a better win? Alexander Povetkin or Luis Ortiz? Now obviously we're talking about Anthony Joshua's win over Povetkin and Deontay Wilder's win over Luis Ortiz. To me, it's a relatively straightforward answer. Overall, both guys, Alexander Povetkin and Luis Ortiz, kind of have they've got a good amateur background, they have a vast amateur background, but the reality is Alexander Povetkin outperformed Luis Ortiz in the amateurs, not by a little bit, but by quite some distance. Obviously, Povetkin won an Olympic gold medal, for example, whereas Luis Ortiz, for the most part, wasn't even the best heavyweight in Cuba. So as amateurs, both guys have vast amateur backgrounds, but basically Povetkin was the king in the amateurs and Ortiz wasn't the king in his own country. But regardless, both good amateurs. In the professional ranks, again, Povetkin is far more proven than Luis Ortiz. Povetkin has a much more deep resume compared to Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz standout names on the resume are Bryant Jennings, that's his best win, followed by Tony Thompson, who has passed his best, and then Malik Scott, a guy who, he's always kind of shat the bed at the highest level. They are Luis Ortiz's three best wins in the heavyweight division. Let's compare that with Alexander Povetkin. Alexander Povetkin has beaten Ruslan Shagayev, Eddie Chambers, Chris Bird, although Chris Bird was getting towards the end of his career, Manuel Char, Carlos Takam, Mike Perez, Marius Wack, Christian Hammer, David Price, Marco Hook. Yeah, and the Hook fight was also very close, could have gone either way. I'm not saying Povetkin's resume is perfect by any means, but the reality is Povetkin is far more proven over a longer period of time than Luis Ortiz, and also Povetkin was a form of he had a version of the heavyweight title as well. So nobody can even convince me that Luis Ortiz is a more proven commodity than Alexander Povetkin, both as an amateur and as a pro. Povetkin has outperformed Ortiz in both, and there's no real argument against that. Povetkin has proven himself more than Luis Ortiz in both the amateurs and the pros. Not only that, also going back to the amateurs now, I've not actually found this to be confirmed by Team Povetkin or Team Ortiz, but apparently, according to a lot of people, Povetkin spanked Ortiz in the amateurs. Now, that doesn't mean Povetkin will beat Ortiz in a pro fight. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that at all. Fighters in the past have beaten a guy in the amateurs, and then back in the pros, in the pro fight, the result is opposite. So that doesn't prove that Povetkin will beat Ortiz in the pros. But if that is true, it just adds to my case that Povetkin is a far more proven foe than Luis Ortiz. I don't think there's not really any argument for Ortiz being more proven than Povetkin. But it is what it is. Luis Ortiz's best win was Bryant Jennings. I felt that was a good win. I rate Bryant Jennings. I think he's a good fighter. But apart from that, it's really thin. You've got Tony Thompson. Tony Thompson was a good contender. But again, when Ortiz fought him, he was getting on in age. Malik Scott, again, Ortiz couldn't stop Malik Scott. He looked terrible in that fight. Derek Chisora made Malik Scott quit. Ortiz couldn't get him out of there. Listen, Ortiz is a good fighter. He's got good skills. He's got good power, southpaw. He's a good fighter. But more proven than Povetkin, that just sounds like absolute fanboyism, to be quite honest with you. There's no ground to say Povetkin is a lesser fighter than Luis Ortiz. The only thing you're basing that on is a hypothetical if they fought. And there's no way to even know that because they've not fought in the pros. But from what we've got to go on, Alexander Povetkin is far more proven at a higher level than Luis Ortiz, and that's just a fact. I don't care about the undefeated record because, like I said, Povetkin prior, he fought a much higher level of competition. His only defeat was Vladimir Klitschko. So, yeah, in terms of who's proven what, Povetkin has proven far more than Luis Ortiz. If they were to square off in the ring, I think it would be a good fight. I think, it'd be fireworks. But again, I've not seen enough from Luis Ortiz. Yes, the only fight he really made me sit and say, wow, was the Bryant Jennings fight. Apart from that, there's not really much there. So, if you asked me to say what was the better win, Wilder over Ortiz or Joshua over Povetkin, to me it's quite a straightforward answer. I'm going Joshua over Povetkin. I think it was a better win. And again, this comes from somebody who, I'll be honest, the whole Joshua Wilder thing kind of winds me up. I don't find it particularly entertaining, but I don't know why this is even a debate. If you followed the heavyweight division for like 10 or so years, I've been watching boxing since I was 9. No, since I was 10. That was 2004. I really started following boxing closely in probably 2007. And if you've been following the heavyweight division like I have, then there's no comparison between Povetkin and Ortiz. There's just not. And a lot of these Wilder fans expose themselves for what they are. A lot of these guys have only really started paying attention to the division in the past 3 years. That's just for reality. It is what it is, And again, I'm not really batting for Joshua here, but the Wilder fans in particular have they're very ignorant on the past sort of 10, 15 years or so in the heavyweight division. That's what I've noticed, It's just fanboyism, jumping on the bandwagon. And it is what it is, I'm not hating on them for supporting Wilder. They should have done it a lot earlier, as far as I'm concerned, because, when this guy was on the come up, they weren't there. But as soon as he had a bit of shine, that's when they jump on the bandwagon. It is what it is, man, but it's not really a debate. Povetkin is far more proven than Luis Ortiz. The only thing you have to go on, if you think otherwise, is your hypothetical if they fought theory, and there's nothing really to back that up either. It is what it is. Povetkin's more proven than Ortiz. Povetkin was a better win. Peace.